Greetings, wanderers. Today's topic is: was Bernie Sanders actually screwed by the DNC in 2016? The biggest unfair thing was superdelegates pledging for Clinton early in the primary campaign. Public perception was that Clinton held a commanding lead before many states even held their votes. This could be seen as the Democratic establishment choosing the candidate instead of letting the people decide in state votes. It's not literally the DNC, but the people who were superdelegates are all party bigwigs and made up the majority of important DNC membership, so it's basically the same thing. The backlash against this was so strong, it caused a rules change at the convention where Bernie lost, to prevent the same thing from happening again. Now superdelegates are awarded based on state primary results in the first round, at the convention, and then are free to vote for whomever if there's a second round. There's also the angle where the DNC was broke and basically took a huge loan from the Clinton campaign in exchange for some control of DNC's role in that primary season, but it's not clear what, if any, decisions were made differently by the DNC as a result that would have hurt Bernie. The same thing happened to Obama in 2008, the difference was the more Obama spoke, the more people loved him. His memoirs goes pretty in depth on the superdelegate issue. People were telling him, "We love you, and hope you win, but I can't pledge my support to you over the Clintons." Once the scales tipped, then everything else fell into place. Screwed is a strong word, but the DNC had a very clear preference for Clinton over him in the primaries. Which was to be expected. The Clintons were the standard bearers for the party for decades, and Sanders only formally joined the party to run on the Democratic ticket and then left again immediately afterwards. I think most people forget that Sanders isn't even a Democrat, although he caucuses with them. Federal Judge Williams Locke dismissed the lawsuit after several months of litigation during which DNC attorneys argued that the DNC would be well within their rights to select their own candidate. https://observer.com/20177/08/court-admits-DNC-debi-wasserman-schultz-rigged-primaries-against-Sanders. It seems weird to support a candidate that promises to upend the establishment and to act surprised when the establishment doesn't support them. That's like the whole point. Outsider candidates have advantages of their own. They don't have to answer for past decisions nearly as much as establishment candidates. They look new and exciting and have more grassroots support. They are more appealing to disaffected voters and independents. It was the job of Bernie to use those advantages to overcome the advantages Hillary had. He instead got thumped in the South. I voted for him, and still think he would have been a great president, but there's no conspiracy there, and he made a ton of tactical and strategic mistakes in appealing to all parts of the Democrat coalition, particularly black voters. He also had another chance in 2020 and corrected none of these things. And again he got destroyed in the South. For years to change and he did nothing. Low-level party insider for what it's worth. Progs don't have the numbers inside the party. There's about a 40-60 split, overgeneralizing, between progs and libs/centrists. They will never ever have the numbers. They must build coalitions from the libs and the centrists in order to win. Progs usually won't compromise towards the center to maintain their progressive cred and for their belief structure. And progs only show up to vote when a prog darling is in the mix, and they spend most of their time railing against the party, so the party usually isn't super enthused about having to bow to people who always threaten to hold their votes hostage in every single election. While we fight Nazis. For what it's worth, I am a prog and was a Bernie supporter. But I like to win, and my pragmatism has me always supporting the leftistish candidate most likely to win. I'm very much a prog, but I'm also very much realistic. Most progressives act like spoiled children who don't get their way. Yes, we need to change things, but we as a nation don't change overnight. You can't disengage from the process because the chosen candidate doesn't fulfill 100% of your expectations. When you do that, you get a Trump presidency and a conservative-dominated Supreme Court. What worries me right now is that I see more and more of this either/or mentality among the younger generation. The way they look at every situation as, "You're wrong and I'm right," with no allowance for any compromise, is not giving much optimism for the future. The Democratic Party that hates him made him the chair of the Senate Budget Committee. Bernie polled great in very blue states, New York and Cali, and terribly in purple states. He also did not expect to be used by Russian internet trolls to make people stay home, long after he dropped out and put his support behind Clinton, around July. Mueller and his team who, in February 2018, secured an indictment against a slew of Russian nationals and companies for creating and using a network of fictitious online personae to flood social media platforms with content meant to boost the chances of Sanders and then candidate Donald Trump. https://www.independent.co.uk/voices/bernie-sanders-campaign-russia-bots-trolls-brothers-2022-020-election-9352026.html. In 2020, Bernie played it much safer and dropped out by April. The Democratic Party doesn't have the same adaptations as Republicans to win elections while also being a clear minority or continue to exercise power without them, so they have no room to gamble on elections. The spurned Bernie folks who sat out 2016 unfortunately proved the DNC absolutely correct that young/left voters are good to have in court but completely unreliable. The corrosive blackpilling of the left, convincing them that a vote is some kind of currency to be earned first, or that their votes don't matter in some states, etc., has become a self-fulfilling prophecy, as they are presently swearing to abstain to send a message to Biden which further marginalizes themselves and requires the party to claw dependable voters from the center. The reality is that you vote first to get your seat at the table, then prove your positions are viable without risking it all. Republicans seem to understand this. I caucused for Bernie in 2016. No, he was great at getting students and retired people out to caucuses, but was weak in primaries. He had no chance of getting the nomination, even without the superdelegate system which was designed to prevent insurgent candidates like him and Trump from gaining the nomination. I caucused for him because I felt that his issues needed to get mainstream exposure, which is precisely what happened. The Democratic Party platform has become significantly more progressive as a result of his candidacy in 2016. The big problem with Bernie were his supporters. The disruption they caused over a single delegate at the Nevada State Caucus pretty much killed his candidacy with rank-and-file D voters. Democracy requires following the rules even when you don't like the outcome in order to function. A lot of Bernie voters didn't understand that, and still don't. There is too much revisionist history in these comments. People are going to believe what they want to believe and their minds are set. No. He lost most of the primaries because Clinton was favored by actual voters. He only did well in undemocratic caucuses. Clinton got 55% of the vote to his 43, a 12-point margin.